What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chronicles on YouTube. Um, Today we're going to be doing one of those work trip things. I need to conclude the fifth and final portion of the Meguiar's Portrait of an Icon series, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed that because it's taken me to new levels of creativity, I guess you could say, and just creating like a imaginary Netflix series was fun. It got a little crazy because everyone started believing it was real, so maybe it was too accurate or too realistic, where people assumed that it was real, and I was getting all kinds of congratulations messages, and Sarah was too, and we were just like, no, you guys got to read the text, man. This is not real. It's just for a project. It's a proof of concept, and then you guys have been along on this journey with me for the 5 decades that I've been tasked to shoot. So started with the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now we're in the 2020s. The 2020s is an interesting one because it's all very predictive. You know, this decade just started. We're in it now, and obviously, in terms of automotive stuff, the next coming trend is going to be EV, electric vehicles, and guys doing EV swaps into their cars. Everything that has nothing to do with the gas-powered engine, which I think in our lifetime we're going to see the last of. In terms of creating content and media, that's just not something I'm into. I don't want to tell that story. That story is going to be told whether I like it or not. So as a creator, I would very much just like to stick with the things that I'm into. And for this project, I have free reign to do whatever I want. So being a content creator, I hate that term. I'm also wearing a hoodie even though it's 70 degrees outside. But as a photographer, think of it that way. I'm naturally a preservationist, so I literally go out and capture moments to try to freeze time, create memories, and create a story, you know? And that's what I want to do. For the 2000s, I did an import tuner cover with my friend Jen and Sean's Feels Wide Body EK, which was great. I love that project. If I had to choose which one was my favorite of the 4 that I've done for Meguiar's, that one is probably the most fun because it allowed me to really get creative and to get to a point where I can make something that will generate a discussion that's believable. Like, at a glance, people will be like, oh, I thought that was real, you know. The Netflix one was cool too, but don't get me wrong, that one was super fun too. But in terms of being creative and bringing that nostalgia, that was the one. While we were doing that project, or after I completed it and posted the photos and everything, a lot of people started assuming or believing that Sean's car was LJ's car, LJ Garcia's Feels Wide Body EK. The original one that was in Import Tuner issue number 2 was Francine D. That is a huge, iconic build for that time. And for the Honda community, like, if you were into Hondas for the past 10, 20 years, you're going to know that car. Everyone thought that Sean's car was LJ's car, and it's definitely not. Sean's had that car since, he probably had the car around the same time as LJ. So Sean just happened to have kept the car the entire time, which is crazy. But that guy's different. So he definitely held on to that car and maintained it and repainted it and stuff. So that is not LJ Garcia's car, to reiterate. I do know where LJ's car is. And I would say not many people, but there are certain people that definitely know where that car is. But a lot of people don't know that at one point that car was for sale, and I seriously considered buying it. The price wasn't too bad. The condition of the car was not great. It definitely needed work. Definitely needed to be restored. All the parts were gone. It was just basically the shell and the history behind it, which is what you're gonna buy. I thought about it, and then I was just like, is it really worth building this car and trying to find all the old parts for it and restoring it? No. Because I was like, what am I gonna do with the car afterwards? Like, I don't have a museum to put it in. Like, I don't have a showroom for that stuff, so it just didn't make sense for me to spend money on that car. The person that bought that car was a guy named Eric, and he had the car for a couple of years. He started the process of restoring it, which is crazy. He even found the original Racing Heart wheels that LJ had on that car. I don't know how he found those wheels, but he found it. And then he started putting the car back together slowly and collecting parts. And then he passed away, unfortunately. So after he passed away, I think his family decided that they needed to liquidate his assets, get rid of some of the cars that he had. So his dad took possession of the car and was responsible for selling a couple of the cars. That's what I heard anyways. Angel from Art of Attack somehow came into the equation where he was purchasing an NSX, or his friend was purchasing an NSX. The details of it aren't important. What you need to know is that the NSX came with a package deal where Eric's dad was just like, hey, like, can you take the Civic too? And it's in rough condition. So that car ended up with Angel. I don't know how many people know that. I don't know if it's supposed to be a huge secret, but I've always known where that car is. I just didn't know what he was doing with it and what he had planned to do with it, and he has no plans for it. When I found out that people were so interested in the car, I was just like, maybe for the 2020s thing, I can shoot that thing. You know, just go back to the basics of just photography and telling a story instead of doing all the crazy artwork and graphics and stuff like that. I wanted to get back to the basics and tell that story, you know, and show that car and show that it still exists. Like, we're in the 2020s now, and the fact that that car still exists and still looks essentially how it did in the past is amazing to me. It's such an incredible part of our history, you know? So I wanted to shoot that thing for the final concluding portion of this project. It has nothing to do with the future, but the theme for this one, for the 2020s, is people like me, like car guys like me, who are still out there trying to keep nostalgia and the past alive. And I think that's super important, because we're getting into a point now where a lot of the stuff is going to be forgotten, you know? Like, a lot of the digital stuff that we see, it's all gone. Like the magazines, they're all gone. Like, even the digital stories, when they moved over to different web servers and stuff, they're not going to be around anymore. You can't even find a lot of stuff anymore. So it's the responsibility of guys like me to try to preserve that history. And I think that moving forward in the 2020s, guys like me, other car guys, they're going to be building and restoring old Hondas, classic builds, cars like LJ's car, you know? Like, the story of that car in itself is so interesting. For a guy like LJ Garcia, who was at that time on top of the world, like, he was getting sponsored by Haynes, he was building all kinds of cars, you know? He was like one of the first guys to get major corporate sponsorships, other than RJ, of course, who is my boss on this project, ironically enough. Yeah, so LJ, like, he just kind of fell off the face of the earth, you know? And he lives somewhere else now, a different part of the world. I'm not going to say where he lives, but he's around. He still checks in on social media every now and then, but he's not really, like, you know, he's older. He's not building cars anymore. And somewhere along the way, him and that Civic parted ways. I don't know where that Civic ended up for those couple of years. I know it was in the Peterson for a little bit. I don't know who owned it at that time, but that car somehow ended up now with Art of Attack. So I'm gonna go check that car out and try to preserve some history.
Dude, that hatch is so heavy, the little popper thing won't hold it. So I'm just gonna have Catman hold it open while we
They didn't have carbon fiber hatches back then, dude.
Isn't it crazy how heavy it is though? Without the little damper deals on it?
Yeah, imagine when it had the wing on it.
Shit, I don't know if we're gonna have enough space actually. Can you have me push it, Catman, and see if it'll roll? Like dragging on anything.
Probably won't roll, dude. Oh shit, it does roll. Sick.
Alright, so Kevin, can you just hold this up while we pull the bumper out of here?
And all the spiders. Dude. The center console is amazing, dude.
Oh my god, there's so much shit.
I don't know why he has these mirrors though. I feel like Eric probably found these mirrors because they were the same as the ones I had before, but
Oh, were they?
yeah. Because they were definitely paint matched, and these are just like white.
Alright. Joey, can you grab one of the bumpers from back here?
Yeah.
Try and push it. You go on this side so it doesn't fucking, you know?
Doesn't crack it more. Oh my gosh, it's heavy too.
Holy shit, that thing is heavy.
Compressors.
Does he have integrity taillights?
Yeah, give us some integrity.
Alright, you ready for the...
Across the river.
The custom headline that he has on there.
Are these actually 5 listeners?
Huh? Are there TVs in there?
That's weird door panels. I think these might be off of the old
This is a lot.
Sick ass 10s of our tower.
Just like random taillights in there.
Just
Just a crazy sight to see this thing. This is like the first time the bumpers have ever been out of the car since Angel got it. Yeah, the door panels are still here. I was kind of bummed that the TVs and the engine bay are gone though. Like, I wonder what happened to those. Still had its sunroof, custom headliner. The tint's all yellow.
so weird to see it all out this way.
Like, we went and put the bumpers back on, but they don't really go on anymore because this is tweaked. Because I guess Eric, who had the car prior to Angel owning it, after he passed, I think the car was just sitting in his dad's yard, and it rolled down the driveway and it hit another one of his cars and bent the core support. So now the bumper doesn't really fit anymore. But yeah, you can see the engine bay here. No wire tucking of any type because it just wasn't a thing yet. Look at these weird suspension pieces. I remember there was TVs in here at one point. It was a H22 turbo. You can see that the subframe is yellow too, but it's like a different shade of yellow. The arms are polished. It's pretty interesting. It's definitely a completely different time, I guess, of style and tuning. You can see that the car used to also be Midori green. And Angel found out after he bought the car that it's actually a Canadian car, so it was never even registered. So when LG had the car, it was just like brought in from Canada without any papers. The thing that's missing is the wing, one of the most important parts of the Feels car. The wing probably broke at one point because the top piece of the wing you have to completely mold to a stock wing like this. So luckily it just cracked and broke and it was probably thrown away. And Eric, who was trying to restore the car, just never got around to finding another one since they don't make it anymore, you know? Clear taillights on here. Most of the panels are still molded, but they're starting to crack just because of stress over time, you know? These are actually the original C5s too that were on the car. Eric went and actually sourced the original wheels. I don't know how or where he found them, but he found them. Honestly, don't know if it's safe to be even inside this car because of all the dirt and grime that's been layered on top over the years, and it's definitely seen better days. But it's just really cool to see this car in this state, and considering it was like pretty iconic for its time, you know, and I think it still stands as one of the most recognizable Feels cars. And you know, granted there weren't too many of them, but this was definitely the one that people remember when they think of a Feels wide body EK, you know? It's so interesting because the car is still green underneath. As many times it's been painted on the outside, like the interior body itself is still the original Midori green, which is it's wild to me. You can definitely see some of the shortcuts that were taken back then. And you know, skill level, like, I guess you can't really compare it to these days because we've had so much time to perfect our craft and to get better at building cars. So seeing this as a relic of the past, it definitely suits the time, and you get to see some of the stuff in here and you're just like, wow, like what were they thinking, you know? But that's just usually how it works when it comes to car stuff, especially from the past, like 20 years ago. I really don't think I should be breathing any of this stuff in. Has a stock bezel and everything still, even though it's been cut up and broken up. They probably use it for other things, you know. And then there's still some old audio equipment in here. And then at this point, I'm sure this was used for something. I don't know why there's like a weird, I'd have to look at the old photos of the car to see what that was for. But there's no cluster anymore. Dash is still wrapped. Still has the stitching and everything's pretty cool. Oh, surprisingly there's nothing in the glove box. But yeah, it's very yellow in here just because of the tint. So it just kind of makes everything a very greenish yellow. It throws off the color balance of the GoPro. The sunroof switch. This was the visor that used to have a TV in it, but is no longer a TV. It's just kind of hanging out here. Which is wild, just to be in the presence of this car. I never thought I'd see it again. I just closed the door and the whole bumper just fell off the car. So you'll notice in the photos that I'm not shooting this side of the car just because this side sits weird because the bag or suspension, I always thought this thing was on hydraulics, but whatever it's sitting on right now, the car won't air down or go down on this side. So it gives the car too much of a tilt, but that's why I shot only the other side, just because it makes more sense and it just looks better with it all aired out, you know, or laid out, whatever suspension it has on here. I swear it's a bag. Oh, no, it's definitely a hydraulic suspension. Oh, spiders. Yeah, so it is on hydraulics. That's what these are for. These weird looking top hats. But yeah, the hydraulic on this side is definitely busted. Strangely enough, the car actually rolls a little bit just sitting like this, which is super odd because we pushed it earlier just to get it to this position. So you can definitely tell that the car's been cut out on the bottom of this. It's not like a fake shortcut wide body. They definitely cut all of it. Yeah, it's all gone. Ugh. I guess Eric never got around to putting the brakes back on. And you can tell how messed up it is now. All the cracks and stuff. Just from stress and just wear over the years, moving the car back and forth with busted suspension. Yeah, such an interesting car. See the many layers of paint. Some of the shoddy electrical work. I don't know what this was supposed to be. Some sort of bulb element. Early time LEDs, I guess. Mid wing's gone. Fuels wing is gone. Trunk shocks are gone. So this is super heavy. And clear taillights. These are in great shape.
This is LJ Garcia here at Atlantic City, doing a deal with Haynes. It's a 98 Civic 4-door. There's only probably 3 of this front end in the United States. I brought it from Japan. I straight bolt on, front end and rear end. Basically put a bigger motor in there. It's a V16 dual red VTEC. Full audio system, TVs, Eclipse head unit, and the wide body flare. You gotta have the wide body. All my cars are wide bodies. You know, we gotta go with the big wheels on it, some shoes. My thing is, I wanna build a car that a regular guy could still afford to make and make it look like. Basically, we're in a stage where we're getting bigger and better for the reason that we have Haynes coming into the program. We got McDonald's, we got big companies, corporate companies taking interest in this, you know, what we call sport. When you have a place you can put 20, 30,000 kids and not have any trouble, have a people event, that's great, okay? And our youth thinks that, and Haynes saw that, McDonald's saw that, the big companies saw that, and it's a great sport. Next year, we're definitely thinking about doing another car with Haynes, bigger and better. You know, that's all I can say. Everything here is just, next step is bigger and better.
Okay, so after the shoot, came back last night, decided I wanted to jump right into the photos. Just because I had everything fresh in my mind and I was motivated to, you know, just to get the photos out. So let me show you guys. The photo's actually going to go live the same day that the vlog goes live. So you'll be able to see the actual photos, I guess, in their entirety. I'm only going to show you guys a couple of them here. This is what I've just had open in Lightroom so far. I really wanted to go for a much more dramatic look, you know, just because I thought about doing something where I would make the photos look old, add some grain to it, give it like a photo look, but I was like, you can't really do that for this one because people know the existence of the car and how much history it has and how old it is. So I thought it was important to give it a very modern touch, like a very modern dramatic look, just because you don't need to make it look like an old photo. The car itself is already, the subject matter is already old. So, and the fact that I'm shooting the car in 2021, like I want to make it look as clean, as dramatic, and as polished as possible, you know. Originally, I even had strobes and everything. I was gonna light the car up with flashes, and then the more I looked at it, like I did a couple test shots, and I just wasn't happy with how it looked with the strobes, just because I don't know, I didn't have the right feel for it, you know. So the cool thing about where the car was situated at the shop at Art of Attack is that there's a giant skylight that's right above it. And I don't know, maybe it was just serendipitous or everything just worked out perfectly, but we pushed that car forward a little bit and that skylight just lit it up perfectly. So I ended up just using the skylight as the natural light, as a light source to light up the car. And then I turned off all the lights at the shop. And then I got to shooting, you know. I'm pretty happy with the photos. It's just a matter of trying to find the right color grading and everything for it. Like, I went for something that's super dramatic like this. It's like really dark, moody. And the only thing that you can really see is LJ's car, just because it's so lit up. It's yellow, you know, so it's gonna pop no matter where, like, where you shoot it. So I thought a nice dark setting, lights off, just natural light coming in from above, just shining on it where you would still see a lot of shadows and stuff. I thought that would make for a good look. And then the ones, I had to have to incorporate Meguiar's stuff into it. So this is going to probably be the opening shot for the carousel for IG. And then we have the modern day wax here. And the interesting about this car is that back in 2000, 2001, it was actually Meguiar's sponsored vehicle. So everything kind of ties together, you know. There's levels to this, you know? I guess you could say. But yeah, you can even see in that old video that I threw up, you'll see a Meguiar sticker on the car. And that's because that's how long this car has been around. That's how long the company's been around, and they've been supporting each other. So it's really cool to see. There's a lot of detail stuff, like the interior stuff. The interior was pretty hard to edit because of the yellow tint inside. It made everything, it washed everything into yellow, like a greenish yellow even, you know? Just because the tint is old and the way the light hits off and comes through the tint, it makes everything look really weird and greenish. So that took a while to play with, but other than that, I think the shots came out pretty cool. Like, I just really wanted something that made the car really pop. And it's like, how do you not make this car stand out? Especially in a setting like this where I can't move the car. Like, it's pretty much stuck where it is. The car barely rolls. The suspension is just busted on it, so you can't really do anything with the car. And the parts in the background kind of help it out, the shelves and stuff. Like, would have been cool if there was nothing there and it was just a completely empty warehouse. But we didn't have that option to work with, and I think this is making the best of the situation, you know, just having the car where it is, being able to put the bumpers on, and I mean, the bumpers are hanging on for dear life, but they stayed on long enough for the photo. Like, literally right after I finished the interior stuff and finished filming, like, the bumpers fell off the car. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. Like, I'm pretty happy with the shots. I think you guys will like them too. They definitely don't look dated, which is the look I was going for. I wanted something that, like, a modern photo with the subject matter being the only aged thing in the photo. And I think I pulled that off. I think I got it. I think I got the shot that I wanted. It's exactly how I envisioned it would be. Like, in my head, this is how I thought it was going to come out, because I knew the restrictions that we had in terms of not being able to move the car. And I didn't clean the car. We didn't touch it at all. Like, I literally just took the car cover off, left all the old grime and dirt on it, just because I want you to be able to see the age on it, you know? Not only the styling shows the age, but I want you to see the condition of the car and how dilapidated it is now and how messed up it is. So it was important for me to capture that. And I mean, the skylight is just, man, it worked out so well. Like, I couldn't believe it. Just like the moment I started shooting, I'm like, man, I got it. Like, the first shot, I was like, this is it. Like, this skylight is perfect. And it was a pleasure to shoot this car. It was an honor, and I'm very happy that Angel allowed me into the shop and allowed me to have full reign of it and let me do whatever I wanted. I spent a couple hours there with the car myself, and then I cranked out the shots that I needed, and I think this is going to be the perfect way to cap off this project. I'm stoked, and I hope you guys like it too. So by the time you see this video, unless you see it right when the video drops, the photos won't be up yet. But most of you guys, by the time you see it, the photos will be up. So please let me know what you think, and I hope you guys enjoyed this crazy look into such an interesting car and opportunity, I guess you could say, just to be able to be in the presence of this car in 2021 is wild. You guys have no idea how stoked I am and how excited I was to do this. Everything just came together and I really couldn't be happier with it. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. If you want to see more cool content like this, get me out there so I can get these companies on me to hire me for these jobs so I can be creative and do all kinds of crazy stuff, you know? I appreciate it.